Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about the concrete architecture of Apollo. In this report, our group will discuss the concrete architecture of intelligent driving technology Apollo. We found out that Apollo has a pub-sub architectural style. To derive the concrete architecture of Apollo, our group first downloaded Understand, went through the subsystems, and illustrated the similarities and differences between the conceptual and concrete views of the Apollo system. Moreover, we provided 2 use cases with sequence diagrams and concluded with the lesson learned from this project. Autonomous driving has become more and more popular these years. In this report, we will focus on the latest version 7.0 of Apollo. The purpose of this report is to help people understand the concrete architecture of Apollo. We describe the top-level concrete subsystems and the inner architecture of the perception subsystem with its interactions. We illustrated the discrepancies between conceptual and concrete architecture of Apollo, performed reflection analysis, and discussed the dependencies for the architecture and the perception subsystem. After the analysis in the report, we found out that the biggest difference between concrete and conceptual architecture is the unexpected dependencies. Conceptual architecture is the one that was proposed by the team, yet there might be some added or unexpected dependencies during the implementation process. Therefore, the concrete architecture is the actual architecture that the team developed in reality.
For deriving the concrete architecture, firstly, we made sure that each team member was able to download and then operate on SciTools Understand successfully. SciTools Understand is an ideal interactive development environment for developers to maintain and understand large amounts of source code. Although some of us encountered a few problems operating on Understand, we solved these problems successfully. In the last report, for identifying the conceptual architecture, we considered Apollo was built around the process control architecture style. With the help of the professor and the teaching assistant, we figured out that Apollo was actually built around the publisher-subscriber architecture style. For the publisher-subscriber architecture style, the biggest feature is that the publisher doesn't directly notify the subscriber. Therefore, communication between them needs to go through the dispatching center. However, the Understand tool couldn't help us to recover the pub-sub message traffic. When constructing the concrete architecture diagram, it was difficult to visualize the dependencies between subsystems. In order to show more completed dependencies, we decided to add the subsystem common. For subsystem common, we mainly needed topics under adapters for different subsystems to communicate with each other. After grouping the system into 11 subsystems, the Understand tool provided with us a concrete architecture diagram as shown in the next slide. As shown in this slide, there are 11 main subsystems. We can find interactions between them. For example, a monitor module interacts with the human-machine interface module. The planning module has the interaction with several modules such as HD map, prediction, and localization. Perception module interacts with the prediction and HD map module. Human-machine interface and the prediction module both have the interaction with the HD map module. The control module interacts with the localization modules.
There are many subsystems in the concrete architecture of Apollo. In this report, our group will provide detailed explanation for the perception subsystem. There are 3 different types of maps in the Apollo system. They work for Apollo system to access the various information that they gain to generate an opposite type of map, and they are working dependent on each other. So the map subsystem called the perception obstacle and send the information to the perception module. The driver module is determined based on the type and model of each device, and the driver subsystem also interacts with perception subsystem that we choose. It uses point cloud and conjure radar to find the location of the vehicle and send it to the driver module. The localization module estimates where the vehicle is located by leveraging different kinds of information sources and data. The perception subsystem uses the localization estimate function to estimate the location of the vehicle. The monitor module can monitor the state of each working module, data integrity, data frequency, and system operation of the entire Apollo system in real time. It also interacts with the perception subsystem using the perception obstacle. It keeps track of status of each working module, and in this case, generates a report to the perception module with obstacle I detected. The planning module is functioning as thinking. The input are all in to ensure the output trajectory is not only collision-free, but also comfortable for the control module execution. The module interacts with the perception module by creating a trajectory. It detects traffic light and sends the result to the perception module. The perception module is used to observe road condition and the surrounding environment just like human eye. It interacts with itself because the camera, lidar, and radars will work as long as the car is driving on the road. It will repeatedly confirm whether the surrounding environment and condition have changed or not. The prediction model is functioning as guessing after perception based on the information that the Apollo system had detected by the perception module, especially the acceleration, velocity, location, direction. The module using the perception obstacle function to detect the obstacle and send the information to the perception module.
In the definition aspect, the main differences is the conceptual architecture is proposed while the concrete architecture is reality. For differences in high-level architecture aspect, as shown in Figure 6, 3 new subsystems are introduced, which are Common Text Manager and Storyteller. Also, by using reflection analysis, we discover the following 4 unexpected dependencies. Strategy to Text Manager, all subsystem in upload to Common. Execution to Text Manager to navigation. For differences in second-level subsystem aspect, as shown in Figure 7, 3 new subsystems are introduced, which are radar, camera, and lidar. Also, by using reflection analysis, we discover the following 7 unexpected dependencies in perception subsystem: onboard to radar, onboard to camera, and third one is radar, lidar, camera to common. Also, the interdependency between lidar and onboard, lidar to map, lidar to interface, inference, and camera to inference.
Diagram basically illustrates the process of how the perception module detects and loads traffic lights. The image is firstly gathered from the camera hardware device and transmitted to the onboard module production. Also participates in loading the corresponding deck while launching and starting the perception module. Detection and recognition is processed in camera module. Finally, then the tracking and voting results of the current light color will be found as post-processing. The second sequence diagram displays the perception process of lens and obstacles. Radar and lidar data will be gathered and sent to onboard associated with the image figure and launch module from production. Then after pre-processing is done by the onboard, 3 different modules are responsible for their own type of signal of detection. Another module involved here is the inference, which contains multiple trained deep learning modules to assist with accurate detection. 3 trackings are transmitted to the fusion module in order to the final configuration. Fusion functions as comprehensive 3 kinds of information to contribute accurate results and finally pass the obstacle.
From the project, we learned how to use the tool Understand. We generated graphs in Understand to help us have a better understanding of the concrete architecture of Apollo. We learned that Apollo has a pub/sub architectural style instead of the process control style that we wrote in the last report. We analyzed again and agreed that a pub/sub architectural style makes more sense. Moreover, after finishing A2, we have a better understanding of analyzing the concrete architectures of a system. We have more experiences on reflection analysis and learn how to find dependencies between subsystems. Finally, as a group, we work better together. However, when writing the report, we found that some parts overlap with each other, so we have to fix and delete some parts that we wrote. Thus, we learned that to reduce the possibility that different members wrote similar parts, we should read the requirements more clearly before we start writing next time. In conclusion, through this report, we discussed the concrete architecture of the autonomous driving system Apollo. We described the derivation process on how we get the conclusions. We not only illustrate the top-level concrete subsystems and interactions, but also discuss the 7 interactions between the perception module with itself as well as 6 different subsystems. We analyzed the discrepancies between conceptual and concrete architecture, performed reflection analysis on the high-level architecture and the second-level subsystem, and reflected on what we learned during the project. That's all. Thanks for watching.